morning, everybody. Is it still good morning? Yes, it is.
It is.
I have to look. I'm like, make sure. Sorry, we had some technical difficulties, but I think we're good. If you hear an echo, just ignore it, okay? Just do your best to ignore the echo.
Yeah, please do.
Guys, I have with me in studio, I have Raquel. Everybody say hi to Raquel.
Hey, Raquel.
And Jamie, this is Raquel. Raquel, this is Jamie, my producer.
Pleasure to meet you.
Hi, Jamie.
So anyway, kind of tell us a little bit about you and how you got started with crime. Not crime. No. How you got started with your crime history.
Tell us what your most recent bank heist.
Crime junkie.
I think I became a crime junkie when I was young. I remember being 12 maybe, and y'all remember the Unsolved Mysteries with like Robert Stack?
Yes.
Old school. I mean, that was an every Friday thing, and then it was Cops, and now it's just all I watch. You can even ask my husband. He gets quite annoyed, and then he makes me watch mechanic shows, which is definitely not interesting.
Right.
I'm like, I don't care
mechanic shows.
Yeah, I don't care about cars. But so I've loved this forever. I have a bachelor's degree in anthropology, and we had to do a lot with like forensics and things like that. So
that's awesome.
I had to write a big long paper on human osteology and got to kind of explore all that stuff and blood spatter, and that was really my favorite aspect is blood spatter, because you can tell so much from blood spatter.
I'm amazed, seriously, when there's a crime scene and then there's like the blood and they're like, you can tell it was from here, he was only this far apart, and then you have all the science that comes into it. I mean, it's amazing to me.
Like medium velocity versus high velocity, and then like how the way a droplet will fall, it'll point back to where its origin was.
Really?
Yeah.
See,
it's pretty interesting.
See, stuff like that, I'm like, yes. Like, I don't want to do all the work. That's just too much for me. But just the fact that you can tell that stuff, I mean, because in essence, it just tells a story.
Absolutely.
And that's just amazing to me.
Yeah. And then DNA, I mean, that's just amazing. That's like the finger of God right there pointing, you did it, or, you know,
or your family member did it.
Right.
In the Golden State Killer's case, because that's how he got found. Yeah.
It was all that ancestry DNA. Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah. There for a while, Jamie didn't want to do his DNA, or he still hadn't done it, because
I still haven't done. I'm still not.
Really?
Because
you're afraid of implicating a
family
cousin?
member.
Sure, we'll go with that. I'm more afraid of them finding me.
I know, that's why I'm like, man, my DNA is everywhere, because I've done like 2 different things. I'm like, that's why my family should not be criminals. I'm just gonna tell you right now, y'all are already busted, so don't even think about it.
I want to do the 21, the
23andMe. Yeah, for the medical part of it. It's really good.
Yeah.
Okay, guys.
Sure.
So as promised, today we're doing Abducted in Plain Sight. Okay. So here's the deal. This is not for the faint of heart. I'm going to tell you right now. Viewer discretion is advised.
Absolutely, 100%. Cover your children's ears. Get them out of the room.
Yes. And I'm not going to get all technical. Y'all know I don't do all that. One, I don't remember the words because they're probably too big. But anyways.
I'll get as technical as possible, because the labels are important, I feel like, for this one. Which... Go on, Sandy.
Okay, so Jamie, let me just tell you right now, if you're a first-time watcher, Jamie is not a crime junkie in the least bit. Jamie's only doing this for me, which I thank him so much for doing that.
Oh, I figured you were part of the crew, Jamie.
He's not.
I am, but in a different way. No. No.
Kind of guy.
So can I tell you, and you guys will hear this. I hope you don't hear that echo. I'm sorry if you do. Oh, there, it's gone. Never mind. So watching this 91-minute documentary, the echo's back. Through 2 or 3 times, definitely 2 times, I almost stopped and was going to be like, I need to call Sandy and tell her I'm not doing this.
Right?
Not only am I not doing this, I'm not doing her show anymore. This was
because she picked this.
This was insanely out of control. I don't even know how to properly give this credence or anything. It just was so much. And anyway, you'll see when we get to when Sandy goes to it.
Pineapples watch with you?
No. She would love this thing.
Oh,
This would be her stuff. I
my husband, he watched with me, and he was texting Sandy, "Why are you making us watch this?"
Thank you.
I got a strong worded text message from her husband. So I'm going to tell you this. Okay, so there was a couple of reasons why this one motivated me. One was the Voices for Justice podcast that I've told y'all that I've been binge listening to. And if you've not heard that one, wherever you pick up your podcast, you'll have to binge listen to it because there's lots of developments on that one, but it's Voices for Justice. And then the next one that did this one for me was a most recent one that went viral on TikTok. And guys, we always think that it's stranger danger, that it's someone else to come in to get your kid, but sometimes it's somebody that you have near and dear in your household.
Oh, Sandy, and it's not even sometimes. Let me tell you this. My wife's work and involvement, she used to work for the Children's Advocacy Center back in Lubbock, and the statistic is 70% of the time it's from someone in your family or someone
I knew
that
it
you
was
knew.
really high up there, but I didn't research the stats. But
70%.
Oh,
it's
wow.
always somebody that's near and dear. And
Who's
so
Echo Burnett said your grandpa might be a serial killer.
I know that was kind of the one things that I was hoping to uncover. But oh my gosh, I did uncover something, but I'll have to tell you that for a later show because we've got this is so long. Okay, so let's start out. Okay. So this is in Pocatello, Idaho.
Yes.
Okay. So our main people here is going to be Jan. Jan is 9-year-olds at the beginning of all this. And Bob, who's Jan's father. We've got Karen, that's a younger sister. We have Susan, that's the youngest sister. And then we have Marianne, who's the mom.
And this all took place it started in 1972.
And it spanned to like 1976, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. So this one's a way back. And the reason this one actually even came on our radar is because it was a Netflix special. And so I watched it. I was at home by myself and I was watching this. And guys, you can't make this stuff up. What I'm about to tell you, you cannot make up. And this is what happened. I watched it, and Eric and Cade were gone. And as soon as Eric got home, I'm like, you have to watch this. And I think the entire time I spent myself looking at Eric just to see his expressions.
I can only imagine what
Eric was like, what are you watching? I'm like, I know, right? Crazy. So anyway, let's dive into this so that you'll know. Okay. So this is one of those settings where you didn't have to lock your door at night. You loved everybody. Everybody knew who you were. Small town feels, great time.
Like Cheers.
Huh?
It was like Cheers. It was like Leave It to Beaver.
Yes, that kind of environment.
And pretty much the men worked and the women stayed home, raised the kids, which is super admirable. But
that's exactly the case for this one. Father was a florist, owned his own business, and mom stayed at home and kept the kids. So mom was in the choir at their church.
Right.
And
but first off, I think it's important to mention that they are LDS. So any LDS friends out there,
we love you. This is nothing against you.
Which, for those of us who don't know, it is Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Yes.
And so they were up in their choir, and Marianne, the mom, happens to look down and she sees this beautiful new family. There's a father, there's a mother, and like 5 different children's. I said that. I've had a mimosa today, okay? So if you hear me say mess with the English language, we'll blame it on the mimosa. So anyway, so she describes the Birchtold family just as being, this really sweet family. But they go into detail and they say he's affable and has an effervescent personality. And that's what you look for in people. You look for those people that are outgoing, that attract you to them. So I kind of feel like this is Icarus going towards the sun, because that's how he was. And so the families just clicked.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. One of the things that I thought was shocking was, I think it was the younger sister said that everybody had a person. So both the moms got along, both the dads got along, all the kids got along. It was just like this really tight, their families just meshed. And
I mean, it was like perfect. Like I love that. Like with you guys, your
That's
husband
true.
meshes with my husband. I mesh with you. Your son meshes with mine. And it's just like great. Like we do really good together. And so anyway, okay, so they clicked and they're doing really great. And so I'm going to refer to you, the friend, his name's Birchtold. Okay. So Birchtold would pick up the kids in the morning. So they have this ritual. He's picking up the kids and the kids were like, we're going to have a great day. And I'm like, who does that? That's too early in the morning. Too early in the morning.
That's weird. Take a note of that.
Yeah, super weird. So anyway, he picks them up all day and he's over at their house every single day. And I'm like, okay, that's a bit much. Like, could you imagine?
They said that he came over like after work just to visit them. Like, no.
Like,
well, also they live next door to each other, so it is believable. Also, a little bit of backstory. So B had 3 kids whose ages also matched But anyway, the Jan's siblings' ages, and so it was easy. And Jan even said later that it was easy because the kids played so much together.
Right. But here's the deal. Even if I'm best friends with my neighbor, I'm not going to be at their house every single day. Like, that's just not normal. Like, if we live next door,
you got crime shows to watch, right?
Do what?
You got crime shows to watch.
Exactly. I'm
they got time to be hosting people.
Yeah, we don't have time for that. So anyway, and then slowly but surely they let you know that Birchtold, he gets nicknamed B. And then he has a nickname for Jan, and her nickname is Dolly.
But it was only Jan, not anybody else.
None of the other kids had nicknames. And so while they're doing the interviews and the backstory, they're playing pre-recorded tapes, and they're also sharing photographs that he took of Jan. Okay.
And it seemed like it was only Jan in the photographs.
I never saw any other photographs of the entire family.
There weren't.
Right? Okay.
Yeah.
So mom is talking during this time, and she said, and I'm quoting what mom said, he did have special attention to Jan, and that annoyed both her and Bob. And she said his fascination with Jan was a little disturbing. Okay.
A little.
And I'm like, so why don't we say something about that? I don't understand where the disconnect was, Jamie.
So my opinion on that is people are very uncomfortable saying what naturally is calling things naturally what it is. So when you feel like something, you don't want to say that in fear that you're making someone else feel uncomfortable. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
So take that base feeling right there. They lived in a small community. It's 1972. It's not 2020. And they're part of one of the pillars of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is huge forgiveness. And so it's a very welcoming, warming community. So they don't want to make him feel awkward, is what I'm guessing.
Yeah.
It's not like you or Joanne. Y'all be like, forget that.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. It's just like, man, if you made me uncomfortable, if you made especially about my kids, like, that's not going to be good. It's not going to end well.
I might go along with that if it's just me. But when it comes to my son, I would have been like, no, I'm sorry.
Like, I had to have been present for you to be taking those pictures of those kids, of my kid. And then a lot of those poses were really weird. Did y'all notice that?
That one where her leg was crossed and you could kind of see like her whole thigh.
Yeah. Okay, so let's move on. So anyway, so mom and dad already kind of get a bad vibe. They are annoyed by that special attention. So anyway, he comes over one day and he's like, or he calls and says, hey, I want to take Jan horseback riding. And she's like, well, it's a school night and she's got piano lessons. He's like, don't worry about it. I'll go pick her up for piano lessons and then we'll go. So she is like, she gives in and she's like, okay, as long as you're home before dad is home.
And there was quite a bit of bantering back and forth between the mom and B. She was like, no, she can't really do this because of piano lessons. And well, it'll be real quick. I'll have her back. And she was like, she finally gave in and said, as long as You have her back before my husband gets home. What time does her husband get home? Did it say?
It didn't specify now. I think it's like before dinner or something type.
Yeah, and I would imagine back then, kind of what you were talking about earlier, it's just 8 to 5 job kind of situation almost. But he did own it, so he could have been later too.
Yeah.
So anyway, so Berchtold takes Jan, and when she gets in the car, he's like, "Here's some allergy pills."
No.
And what does she do? She takes her allergy pills. And so she doesn't remember the drive. She doesn't remember the stalls. And guess what? Here's a shocker. They don't make it back home.
Like ever.
Ever. It takes them a while. And so here goes the first kidnapping. This is October 17th, 1974. And guys, it doesn't get any better than this, okay? So they don't make it back. At 9 o'clock, Berchtold's wife comes over and she's worried. But here's the deal. She discourages them from calling the police. And she says, it'll upset him. We don't want to get him in trouble. And Friday goes by and they still don't have her back home.
Mm-mm.
And Saturday morning, she calls the FBI, but she really doesn't follow through.
Yeah, so they told her the offices are closed until Monday. So if you have something really important to report, you need to call the local authorities.
Mm-hmm.
If not, call us back on Monday. And she says, okay. And her daughter's gone.
Yeah. And so okay, so let's, just the whole,
crazy.
And I don't know how I would have been in 1972. I'm just telling you, as a 2020 mom, man, we're moving.
Mm-hmm.
We're moving rocks. We're moving everything to find this kid. And, to hell with that mom, okay? Because we're not, no, your husband has my kid. So anyway, so they tell him, so they finally contact the FBI in Pocatello and they tell them they don't suspect foul play, even though it's been 5 days. And the FBI is telling them, guys, she's been kidnapped. And they're like, no, I don't think that he kidnapped her. Like, kidnapped is a harsh word. And so
the FBI agent actually said that he had to convince them that, no, he took your daughter.
Yeah. I just
can't believe that you would have to be convinced of that. That just blows my mind.
Like, if my kid doesn't come back in from from the trash can, I'm like, oh, like, where are you at? Like, where's he at? Why is he taking so long?
Right.
So yeah, I just have issues with that. Okay, so let's fast forward. And we find Bob's car, and so immediately here comes this forensics to work. They can tell that the window's been busted from the inside out and there's blood on there. So the FBI is like, man, he's letting on like something bad has happened, but it's not just been to one kid. It's been, something bad has happened to him too. And so anyway, people in the community are comforting this family and they're saying like, oh, Bob would never hurt her. Bob is such a good, because he's done such a great job to build up his character, to build up like how awesome he is. Because he was also a fellow businessman in the community. Like, he owned his own business.
Right, and they all went to the same church. So he had established good rapport, I suppose, with everybody at the church too. Because she'd mentioned that people from the church were coming and comforting her.
Yeah. And so anyway, oh my gosh, guys. And again, this is just me speaking right here. I don't know if it was somebody in my family. I know, Joe, when I watched this, I was like, pinche Bob, he's all over the place. But so the brother comes in and he's like, yeah, my brother's a sexual pervert. And he's like this. Yeah, he is. He's like, yeah, he's a pedophile. And he said he alleges, this brother of Berchtold alleges that he messed with the little sister. When
Berchtold was 12.
Yeah, when he was younger, yeah.
And the sister was like 5 or 6 or something.
Yeah, it is super crazy. But the brother, his name is Joe, and the brother does admit that his brother is a pervert. So okay, we'll get back to that brother because the brother.
Real quick, Susan has said she's had stalkers for years.
Susan.
And I know Susan. I know Susan. She and I go to the same church. And she she has some stories to tell.
Oh,
Susan, we're going to reach out to you because I'm going to have you come on the social and distancing show. Sorry, Sandy. I just needed to throw that out there. Her story's that good. I just remembered. Oh, my gosh.
Oh, my God.
I'm so sorry, Susan. I had one for a little while. It was pretty horrifying.
I've never had one. That's
really?
No.
I think you have a super fan, though. It's pretty close.
I have a super fan, and I love her, though.
Sandy loves her. Joanne says, "Oh, H now."
Yes, Joanne.
I'd grab a gun and go after him. Okay, so let me tell you something. Actually, that you bring that point up. I was going to say for after the show, but I'm going to sparse it in throughout the show.
Okay.
So there's an alleged story that goes that Marianne actually got with her brother and met Bob. I'm sorry, I don't know why I said Bob. That is Bob. Yeah, B met him at a parking lot, and that there was a plan to do something. But either they didn't plan it all the way through, so it was like a bumbling thing. B was just like, "What in the world are y'all doing?" Bye. And
that's for
so,
you.
What? That is not. And so anyway, so there was alleged something that
they
happened.
were trying to do some vigilante stuff.
Yeah, but the little that I read about it and found on it, it really seems like it was like the Three Stooges kind of trying to do something, and it was.
I mean, if you look at the family, it fits. Oh my gosh. Let's continue. Okay, let's continue. So anyway, okay, so another side to this one. He has tried to get other girls in town, but those parents cut him off from their children.
Yeah, it said 4 or 5.
Yeah, other little girls in the show. But anyway, so 2 years prior, so we're going to rewind a little bit, prior to this abduction, Berchtold called Marianne and he's like, "Hey, can you bring me lunch?" I'm like, okay, y'all know me. Like, call your wife. What the heck you calling me for? I don't even bring my husband lunch. So I'm not going to take no other fools some lunch. Joanne, I think Joanne can back me on that one. Anyway, so he starts kind of grooming her. He like flatters her and he tells her her legs are great. So he started making her feel really good inside because she was like, well, because after 15 years of marriage, like she didn't have that with her husband. I'm like, well, that's
sad.
That's sad. And I guess maybe it's 1972. You don't have the feels for your husband anymore.
Well, and I wonder in that day and age, you got to think like there's just a lot that's not known at that time. And so just that whole, you stay in the house, you go to work. I don't know. Yeah, but even today, if you think about it, getting compliments is always nice. I like getting compliments.
Yeah, I love getting compliments, even though I'm always like, whatever, Eric, what do you want?
Poor Eric.
Oh, man.
So that was what she did, So guys, here's the crazy part. Ready? Let's go for crazy number 1. So she admits to hugging and kissing. But she said that this day they just hugged and kissed during the lunch thing, during this lunchtime. And but they didn't go any further. Okay, they did not go any further.
So that was the first time that he called her for lunch, and she's already making out with him.
Well, I think it was over a span. I'm just fast forwarding because there's so many good facts about this, and I say good, but like in a some sort of way,
morbidly good.
Morbidly good. So anyway, then they start interviewing Jan's father. And so he tells of a time when Berchtold stops by his store. Berchtold is frustrated during the day, so he comes by Bob's store, and he looks super frustrated, and he said, "Hey, let's go for a ride." So Bob, being the good friend that Bob is, hops in the car with him, and he just is so frustrated, and he's like, "I don't have good relations with my wife." And he said, I'm super stressed out right now. And he said, "I just need some relief." He needed some sexual relief. And Bob is kind of like, just laughing it off. And he's like, "No, friend."
He's like, why are you laughing?
Huh?
Like, why are you laughing?
Yeah, why are you laughing?
And he's like, "This is child's play. Like, this is nothing. You can do it." What does Bob do? Bob
reaches over and
reaches
helps a brother out.
And he helps his friend out. And it's just like
Joe said, yeah, the dynamic was different back then.
Okay, but you know what? I'm just glad I'm not in that era then.
I'm messing with y'all. So Joe posted that comment up a couple minutes ago. It just made sense to use it again.
Thank you, Joe. All right, friend.
I'm glad I didn't know Joe back in the 70s.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Wasn't that all that time of free love and people were swinging and?
But this was. I mean, like LDS, and so I don't.
Yeah, they were LDS, and I, for the most part, I feel like they were, very
conservative in their practice of.
Yeah. So,
I will share this. So one of the tidbits I found was that, when he went on the documentary, which by the way, it originally came out in 2018 as Forever B. And then was relabeled on Netflix as Abducted in Plain Sight.
Really?
Yeah.
So, and it won an award under the old name or whatever. But you know how Netflix, they buy stuff and they kind of whatever. There's another bad echo again. That was the first time that the father had confessed that.
Oh, on the show?
Yeah. So, back in the 70s when all that happened, no one knew. They didn't know, but there was some inkling that didn't come out in the courts, but the investigators I think they knew something. And so she was like, was there something that went on between you and whatever? And he was like, yeah. And so on the camera is the first time he had ever told anyone publicly what had happened.
That's why he was acting that way.
Okay.
He was disturbed. You could tell, but I just don't even understand. I don't know why you would do that.
Yeah.
On what planet that'd be okay.
My bad, Joe. Those comments come in 45 seconds away. I know. I don't know what. I can't hear it on our end. Usually when it's you, I can hear it, but I'm just not hearing it, Joe. Sorry.
I think one of the things it is maybe the volume. Maybe your volume's too high.
You think?
I don't know.
Because I feel like you're actually really low.
I'm talking low on purpose.
Are you? Because of the echo?
Yeah,
I'm
I think so.
Out.
I don't know though.
Was that better?
No. Yes. No.
My volume is
move on. We'll just move on, and I'm going to try not to talk as much.
Okay. So, anyway, so he helps his friend, and that was a meme. I'll share that to y'all later in the comments. That was an awesome meme. Anyway, where were we at? So basically, he manipulates both of them. He manipulates the father and the mother to have more access to the daughter. Okay. They said that he was previously reprimanded by the church, I guess because of his tendencies. And so they sent him to a psychologist. And so Birchtold tells Jan's father that part of his therapy, okay, here we go, some more bombs.
There you go, crazy.
Part of his therapy is that he has to spend time alone with his daughters. And the dad believes him. And here's them saying, like, we weren't comfortable, but we allowed him to do it.
And it wasn't just spend time. It was to lay beside Jan, not anybody else, Jan, and listen to these weird tapes that this doctor made up.
This therapist made up.
Like the blanket's soft, or what else did it say? It was horrible.
I couldn't even listen to the tapes. So anyway, the father says that they had an inkling. Just an inkling. Somebody look up how much a measurement of an inkling is. They had an inkling that he was into Jan, and they never saw the red flags. He slept 4 times a week for 6 months, right up until he took her. I don't know. Jamie, you have daughters. If somebody said, my therapy is for me to lay with your daughters.
Let's put this in some context real quick, okay? And even 72, 2020, whatever, this man has already, by this time, and guys, we're leaving out some stuff for the sake of the show, time on the show.
Yeah.
This man has already been accused, and he was convicted
1 year
of, I don't even know how to put it in words. I'm just saying, this guy You come to my home and tell me I'm going to help you with therapy. I'm telling you, everything in my body, like you'd probably get like 5 seconds to leave my sight.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you. And so again, here we are, and I can't describe the level of naive that these parents were. I think that's the only way that I can be okay with that in my brain, is by saying that they were that naive to that.
And I don't even, I got to be honest with you on this part. Mental health is not a huge thing in the 70s.
Right.
And so there's still a lot of taboo around mental health. So seeking a therapist, and let me rewind a little bit real quick. The therapist, by the way, guys, turns out not to be a real therapist.
Quack.
Well, he was, but then his license got
license
removed. Yeah.
And that happens for reasons that make you not need to be a therapist. Just so you guys know that, okay? My wife still has her license because she's a good practicing therapist.
And Joe, okay, I appreciate that, because that's what I want to say, but I'm just like, okay, what if someone's pulling the wool over my eyes currently? I'm just like,
let's not forget also that this is not B's first family. Yeah. This man he's been, again, some of the stuff we've left out. He's been reprimanded by the church. He has had at least 3 other families that he's attempted to do this with, and people were uncomfortable. I found a whole story on one of the girls who came out 20 years later on what he did to her, and she didn't want to go public with it or anything, but she did share her story, and she was like, yeah, he went with that family on a family vacation. He alone went with them and was hanging all over her and everything. It was
with that show. And another side note, he did go on vacation with Jan and the other neighbors, and that neighbor was like, never again did we ever want to speak to him. Like that neighbor was, the neighbor didn't say much.
It wasn't even a vacation. It was just like a day boat trip to a lake, and he was like, he's
like, never again do I ever want to hang out with that guy.
Yeah.
So guys, the flags were everywhere. Everybody's flags were going off except for this family. Okay, so anyway, let's go back to this. So while she's kidnapped, so now we're going to forward to Jan, and she's already gone. She's kidnapped, and she's made to believe that she's been abducted by aliens, and her father's an alien, and there's a special mission. So basically, she needs to have a kid with Berchtold, and that's just summing it up in a nutshell. But it actually went further than that. So day 35, Berchtold calls his brother. Cue in Joe again. And so he says, hey, call Jan's mom and tell her that we want to come home, but they have to give me permission to marry their daughter. And the parents were like, no, we're not going to give you permission to marry him. And so the brother calls the FBI, and he sets him up. So turns out that they are in Mexico once they find him. So they have to call the federales in. The federales find them. They get taken off to jail. And here we go with some more manipulation. Berchtold gives the federale, the prison guard, gives him a ring. And so he's able to come see her and tell her, hey, don't tell your parents one thing. Don't talk to your dad anymore. Don't tell your parents anything about what's going on. So then he goes back into the jail cell. And anyway, so they get married in Mexico because Mexico has a whack law, and Raquel will tell you more about that in just a second. But they have a whack law that you can marry with parental consent. A child, a 12-year-old can marry with parental consent. That's for a female 12-year-old, and a male is 16. So what did you find on that?
So I Googled it, and as of 2014, pretty much that rule is still the same. My phone's off, but 18 without any consent, and 16 for males, and 14 for girls. And that's 2014. That is present day. So I don't even know, like, what is their pedophilia law? You know what I mean? Like,
I have no idea. So anyway, they get the marriage certificate. They send it back to Mexico to have the marriage annulled. And the FBI tells the family, stay away from Berchtold. And anyway, so okay, thanks for that suggestion. Gail comes over.
Oh yeah.
Gail,
hey, how are you doing?
Gail's the wife. Okay, so again, let's go back to this. Berchtold is married, and he has a wife, and she comes over and she's like, "Hey, can y'all go ahead and drop the charges, or we're gonna basically blackmail you because you've had both of you, mom and dad, have had some sort of relation with Berchtold."
And she only told the husband. She didn't tell the wife.
No.
She took the husband in a back room and told him all of this.
So anyway, in order for them not to be exposed, they signed the affidavits. The U.S. Attorney General calls them and says, "Hey, we're still going to pursue charges. Please don't drop the charges." And basically the case is at a standstill because there are no witnesses, because they signed those affidavits because they did not want to be exposed. So Jan sees them again. He goes into her bedroom, and he uses those alien voices, and he continues to manipulate her. And he sends her letters at school, and he's like, "Oh, I just love you so much. You are the love of my life, blah, 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 crap, crap, crap." And then Jan responds back, and she's like, "I love you, and I can't wait till we're together." And at this time, there's just so much turmoil going on in the home. So anyway, Jan tells her mom that she loves Berchtold and she wants to marry him and have kids. And so, guys, get this, though. He continues the manipulation with Jan's mom. And this is at the time when he seduces her for about 8 months. Mm-hmm. And she actually has
the mom.
Yeah, he actually has relations at this point with the mom. Yeah.
Interesting.
And this is even after the FBI, the Attorney General, even after you know that something has happened to your kid, she's still seeing this guy and she's still being seduced by him.
And they had put up parallels like that.
Manipulated.
That B was fantasizing that it was Jan and all that kind of stuff, but it's ridiculous.
So then get this. Y'all ready for this? So Berchtold.
No.
Berchtold calls Jan's father and tells him what happens. So he's just like, "Oh, hey, I've had an affair with your wife. Next." Anyway, so then I feel like the object of this was, and I think they say this in there, was to get her to separate Bob and Marianne so that she could get the kids.
And then he would have easier access to Jan.
So Jan's father files for divorce, and he gets an order to protect his girls. So he finally mans up a little. And there's something that's in there that kind of makes him change his mind, and they reconcile. Anyway, so he pleads guilty to this charge of kidnapping, right? And then he gets 5 years, and then they reduce it to 45 days. Mm-hmm. And you just I'm like
5 years to 45 days, guys.
She was gone.
And even then, he didn't even spend the 45 days, right?
He got off early off of good behavior.
Yeah,
5 days.
Yeah, 5 days. But the first kidnapping was what, 2 months?
Yeah, 35 days, I think. Susan, man, girl, we gotta talk.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Susan.
Susan, we gotta talk. So anyway, they're reconciled. Oh, Joanne, girl, it's better. Hold on. So anyway, he pleads guilty, gets 45 cents, and guess what? Good old law-abiding citizen Berchtold does now. He buys a family fun center.
Yeah, how is that even legally? How can you do that? You've gotten convicted, served time for child molestation, and they let you buy a place where children go to play.
Yeah, we're going to buy this family fun center. And then Jan insists on working at his center.
But it's out of town. It's not in the same town. So he's moved off.
Same town.
He moved off to what town was it in?
I don't even know. I think I skipped that one. Anyways. But anyway, so guess what mom does? Because mom doesn't want to fight with her anymore.
Well, because Jan was like, she wanted to go and she was going to hitchhike all the way over there.
Yeah. And so they didn't believe in chanclas, I guess, in 72. Because I've been like, quit, ask me one more time. Ask me one more time and you finna, girl. Anyway,
Walk in the closet.
yeah. So mom buys her a ticket and she sends her off to the family fun center.
Let me say at this point, Dad had nothing to do with that. He had zero to do with that, okay? He found out about it, and let me tell you, he was unhappy. And as you watch this, guys, one of the things that you see is you see their facial expressions, and it's really hard to have any sympathy for either of the parents. Because while mom talks about all the relationship with B, she just looks like she's stargazing and wanting all these things to come back. Yes. And it's a disgusting reminiscent. Like she literally is like trailing off. And it's like, yeah, I really.
In this episode, guys, she wanders off. Yeah, she's like, you know, you used to tell me that I had good legs.
Oh my gosh, you know. And then you get to hear actual tapes. We didn't talk about that, but they have tapes where they tap the phone calls whenever he was in Mexico. And there's one. Anyway, we'll get to it later. I'll save that. Sorry, Sandy. Go ahead.
Okay, no, you're good. You're good. So anyway, August 10th, 1976, Jan disappears for a second time, and she leaves a note, guys. Joanne.
Joanne. My husband said that, Joanne. My husband said that.
I am with you.
Yes.
Oh gosh.
I would. Oh my gosh.
That's funny.
Oh.
Anyway, she goes missing for a second time, and Birchall's like, no, she's not with me. And the FBI taps his phones, and he tells Jen's mom that he still wants to marry her. And I'm like, what? Guys, so anyway, FBI tracks him down, and he's got this like sanctuary in his little travel motorhome thing. He's got these pictures that are blown. Yeah, in
it was crazy.
In 1972, you could blow up pictures. Who knew?
Right? He was keeping the Kodak guy busy.
Yeah, he's got size pictures.
And some of them were on pillows too. He had them screenshotted on pillows.
I'm like, man, they had some good technology.
Yeah. Wow.
So he's got these pictures of her, and
but she's gone. They can't find her.
And then,
so where's she at?
So here's where he because she calls her parents, and her parents are like hysterical. Mm-hmm. And Eric's like, is that the dad crying, or is that the mom? The mom and the dad sound exactly like when they're crying
on the phone. Yeah.
I don't know. I felt different. I felt like mom was kind of like, oh, hey, well, don't forget your socks off the floor and pick up your shoes. And then dad, he's the one who's like, what? It's baby, please come home. But then he kind of cuts off. It almost sounds fake. I'm going to be honest with you. Like, because at some point he's kind of like, well, are you coming home? Do you still love him? Do you still want to marry him? I'm like, what?
Yeah, it's so crazy. I mean, like, that's not the questions that I would be asking. I'm like, what's your MFN address? Because we are fixing to come get you right now. But that's not what they do. They ask her if she's still in love, if she's still married, if they want to get married. Does he still feel the same way about you? And I'm like,
yeah, it's bad.
Huh. You know, I'm like one of those moms that are like, come here, I'm not going to hit you again.
Living do.
Like, look, yeah, exactly. I ain't going to hit you this time. So anyway, so come to find out that what he does is he has driven her to California, and he enrolls her in an all-girls Catholic school, and he claims to be a CIA agent, and he poses as her father. He has this whole story, and all these nuns are believing him. He said when he was
lying to a nun.
I mean, you lying to someone that's close to the Lord. But at this point, if you lie to
the nuns,
I mean, take it straight to hell. I mean, let's go ahead and put that out there. So anyway, so they find her there at this Catholic school. They bring her back home, and even the sisters that are in this, they're like, she was gone. She was gone. Like she was emotionally detached from everybody. She wasn't the same, and just, you know, all the manipulation and everything. And in her mind, she is still believing that there's an alien mission for her, that she still has to reproduce at age 16, and there's going to be like some serious.
Her sister's going to go blind.
Mm-hmm. The other sister is going to be the one to have the baby.
Right. And her father was going to die. And
there's all these things that he's told her that are going to happen. So 38 days later, after she comes home for a second time, Eric, he was really friendly. Jan's father, his store burns down, and I'm like, immediately when that happens, I'm like, Birch told. And then they get to around the time
immediately
that Birch told some people, paid some people $1,000 a month, paid some criminals to go burn the store. Not only did they burn the store, they managed to burn the whole block down, half of the block.
Great job, guys. Great job.
Yeah, I'm like, y'all went above and beyond. I'm pretty sure
in my corporate world, we call that overutilization. It's basically when you get paid to do amount of work, but you do more than what that is. Great job, guys.
Excellent. So let's go ahead and talk about, he's got a preliminary hearing, okay? He's acquitted by reason of mental defect from his kidnapping charges, okay? He beat the arson charge because they couldn't prove it. Those guys were not talking. $1,000 a month kept them shut up.
Mm-hmm.
He gets acquitted on the CIA impersonation, and this guy gets nothing.
I mean, it's just crazy, like how many times he did things that if I would have done, I would have gotten thrown in prison for, like, in lock, I mean, the luck of this guy, I don't know if he just manipulated everybody, but I mean, to impersonate a CIA agent.
It just occurred to me.
What?
He did favors for those two that did time in prison.
Which ones?
The two that committed the arson.
Oh, you think?
Why would they not say, this guy told me? Because the
Oh.
parents didn't want to say that they had done favors.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yep.
You heard it here first. You heard it here first. No. And
I got to think also that the jury, the judge, and all that stuff, that there probably was. I'm not 100% sure because I didn't look that part up, but I just thought about it. I'm sure they were in the same community, and so if they were LDS, that a lot of the pillars that mattered to them religiously carried over in there, and that's maybe why he got so little time and everything else.
Yeah,
I don't know. It had said too that I thought that he had even met with the bishop, and the bishop was like, no, you got to get your life straight or something. I don't know. I do remember something about that. But anyways.
Well, and then, so my opinion, the Brobergs, which is Jan's family, they're at fault for not admitting to having relations, because I feel like this would have been a one and done deal had they not signed those dang affidavits and not pressed charges on him right then and there when the FBI wanted to do it.
What would have been a done deal whenever he's taking pictures of her, they shut the door and said, you can't come back, right?
I mean, so, like, let's keep pushing it further back.
Right.
Yeah.
The day that they met him.
The day that you were annoyed that they were paying attention to your kid.
Oh, that's crazy.
Another thing too is that they noticed that he started losing interest there at the end. Guess what? She's getting older, and he probably has this one age group that he likes. And one of the sisters says the parents didn't probe and really ask Jan what all had happened. It's like it was too painful for them to even.
That's what the sister said.
Yeah.
It was. They prefer not to know. Can you imagine? I want to know everything.
Yeah.
Son, tell me everything.
So the sister comes, Jan, she says, like, if she had to put a number on how many times he assaulted her, she said at least 200 times.
Mm-hmm. It's just so messed up.
It is. So she's, so Jan and her mom, I guess, as a form to maybe heal, Mom wrote a book. So basically whenever Jan opened up to her, Mom started writing. And so they have a book out. It's called Stolen Innocence, and they speak at different events. So Berchtold starts coming to these events, and he's threatening them, and he tells them that He's
Everything you say is a lie. Don't believe them. They're full of it. They'd have it out for me.
They start posting. I think doesn't he even do like posters in the neighborhood about all the being libel and slander and all that sort of stuff. And so anyway, so then guess what? Now they have to go to court. She hasn't seen him like in 30 something years. And now she has to face him in court. And because he's suing them. Is it right? Or no, she wanted a protective order from him.
Right. But so she said that usually whenever you get, what are they called? Not a protective.
Restraining orders.
Restraining orders.
It's a stalking injunction.
Yeah. That it's only good for like 3 years, but she got it for his whole lifetime. She got it awarded for his whole lifetime. But she had to confront him, and the way he was speaking to her made me so mad. I'm like, you don't even have, how can you speak to her that way? Like, I can't even believe that the court system would have let that happen.
It's so upsetting. I mean, you go this long without seeing him, and then you have to see him, and then she's like, Mr. Birchtolz, because she's trying to be as composed as possible. And he's like,
come on, Jan, come on.
So I think one of the pieces that they may have left out, I'm not 100% sure, was that he was representing himself.
Yes.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
And so there is that, he can't address her.
Horrible. It was horrible, y'all.
And so, and one thing that Jan did have for her, I can't remember, I guess it was at the court, was that there's a motorcycle group called BACA, Bikers Against Child Abuse.
My husband wanted to be sure everybody knew about that because he used to be with them a long time ago. he was really happy to see them. Yeah, it was like that's really cool.
So
these guys they protect people who've been victims of child abuse, and they basically act as the tough guys around them when they go to court, so that the accuser can't intimidate the kids or the victims without them themselves getting intimidated.
Right.
And there was a run-in with that. Wasn't there a run-in?
So that's what I was going with that. So here's the brother for the third time. Here's Speech and Joe coming in. And he's like, well, the BACA guy climbed on his car and then he slammed on his brakes. And that's when he ran him over. You know what? You're not going to leave your bike to go climb on somebody's car. That's not what these guys are there for. So he ran over him, but the brother was trying to justify it.
Well, and even if he did, if you have somebody on your hood, stop and call the police. Don't like speed up, throw it in reverse, and run over somebody.
Yeah, and then reverse after that.
Right.
So, he had a gun in his car too.
So yeah, they did catch him. He did have a gun in his car. So at that point, he's charged with 3 felonies, 2 misdemeanors. He is found guilty. Finally found guilty. And to avoid jail time, he commits suicide. He drinks all of his heart medication, drinks some Kahlua and milk. What a concoction. And he commits suicide. So at this point, 6 women come forward. And for one of those women, he was found guilty and he spent 1 year in jail.
Yeah. Horrible.
And guys, it's, and again, we go back to this being the era, where you don't see it just in my brain. I just don't have the capacity to, I feel like, forgive the parents on this. I feel like they dropped the ball. Like, you were there to protect your children and you completely, you were selfish, and the mother doing these things with this man. If he's capable of doing the things that he's with your daughter, what a sick man. And you're a sick person for doing that, what you did. And still going back and reminiscing,
I know she did. I didn't even think about that. But she was smiling every time she talked about it. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So here's the thing is, it's hard. It's a dichotomy for me. For one piece, as a parent, looking at fellow parents, it infuriates me. It's more than infuriate. It disgusts me, right? It makes me think. Like, when she responded to her daughter from B telling her that her daughter was prostituting herself in the second kidnapping, on the tape that they recorded, she's like, oh. We're both bringing potato salad to the barbecue this weekend?
Yeah.
Oh.
She was so calm about it, like
everything, which is why I'm like, did y'all? I believe there are tapes, but this is, it's just a little off. So anyway, my the other part of me though is understanding. I'm not at all the expert level that my wife is, but talking with her enough and understanding psychology and things like that, there's a piece of this that it's not left on me to be like, he was a master manipulator. He wasn't just a manipulator. Like we were talking about, like Susan earlier, talking about, your brothers and stuff like that. But this guy, it's like he made a living manipulating people. And he was in it for the long con. We didn't talk about time, but like the stuff with with Marianne and Bob, like some of that started years before he actually started his thing.
He groomed mom and dad.
Yes.
And then he started in on the daughter.
Yes.
It was crazy. It was like a triangulation. That's what I felt like. You went for one, then the other to get what he wanted. And
so being a victim, her parents were just as much a victim as she was too to his manipulations. So that's why I say the other side of me that understands a little bit more about psychology. I tell you, we have a mental health positive home here. And so I think I feel bad for them too on that part. They were manipulated beyond what they realize. And guys, if I told you how many times when I talk to my wife and we talk about like psychology and different things like that, and she can plot out people's thoughts and all this stuff, and I'm like, how do you know that? And they're like, this is a science. This isn't like just we think we're living in this world of random choice and random decisions. In science, people can calculate. In psychology, they know the things that you do. There's quite like, have you ever taken one of those psychology questions or questionnaires where it's like, how do they know I'm this type of personality type? It's because that personality type is in a column. Each one is in a column, and so he can be put in a column and mark a majority of these things, and it's boggling. So I do also feel for her parents.
You're a better person than me because I don't.
Yeah, I'm just kind of like, gosh. But so this type of manipulation reminds me of going back to that podcast of the Voices for Justice. So the father in that story was very, very manipulative. Like he started early on, like to tell the daughter, well, she's ADHD. Okay, so ADHD does not make you MR just because you have that sort of diagnosis. And so he was just grooming her and telling her, well, she couldn't even order pizza. So he very early on planted that seed because he knew what he was going to do. That's the thing, is all of this was like premeditated manipulation. He knew what he wanted. He knew what he was looking for, and he found the weakest link in these people.
But what I wonder is, so all those kids were the same age. Did he do that to his own children?
Well, and that's another thing too that I learned. They sometimes they don't do that to the biological, because back to this Voices for Justice, he did not touch his daughter. The other daughter was an adopted daughter, but he did not touch his biological daughter. So I don't know. Maybe he drew the line. Maybe he had some sort of moral compass when it came to his kids.
Oh wow!
It kind of made, anyway. We won't talk about it anyway.
No, do it. I want to know. What'd you say?
So there's some stuff where it talks. The idea is biological. It's the base science, like your progeny. You're trying to advance your progeny, and so instead of touching that, I shouldn't have used that word. You go somewhere else to fulfill that. It's not everyone, but that's a thought, is that because it's your biological whatever, there's that break in your thought where you wouldn't even think about it with them. Kind of like, you just wouldn't. But I'm not saying he did or didn't. And we also have to remember that he had practice before this.
Right.
His brother knew when he was a kid that there was something going on. He used 3 families before, and he was, he was in his late 20s, early 30s, something like that. So he's personally had, opportunities to do stuff and to figure out how to manipulate and get what he wanted.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So guys, we went through this super fast. This was an 1.5-hour documentary. We gave you just like the main points. If you're troubled like my brain is and you want to go watch it, you can. It is on Netflix. It is for free, and it is Abducted in Plain Sight. I want to thank you guys for hopping on here and giving your comments. Susan, send me a message, please. I really want to talk to you. You are like right there where I want to be. No, not like personally. No, I just mean like the story.
So, real quick before we go, I do want to mention some things though, because I thought it was important
Okay.
for this, for future. Um, so Jan ended up getting married later in life.
Okay, good.
She had a son,
Oh, okay.
but they divorced, and then she got remarried.
Okay, good.
She started acting from 1992 to current. She is still an actress. And so she's been in shows such as Criminal Minds. She was in Iron Man 3, and she was in a show called Everwood. She's been on episodes of Touched by an Angel. So I mean, she's not a superstar, but she
was in Iron Man 3?
Yeah, as a background, one of the scientists in the background, but she was doing it. She runs a theater company in Utah, and she's done lots of stage plays, musicals as well. So, there was a lot that happened to her, and there was a lot that, she had to go through and whatnot. I thought it was also interesting that while Borgman is the name of the person who did the show,
Yeah.
she, during the production of this, like when they were on the editing floor, they were just like we are, guys. They were like, I can't believe this. I can't believe this is stupid. This is no way this is real. The whole alien thing, no way. But then they found the court things, and they were like, he had done the alien thing on other kids. And they're like, oh my gosh, what? So at one point they paused production for 6 weeks because they're like, we just couldn't withhold feelings and thoughts about the whole family. And so we had to be like, we're just going to stop right now. And they were glad they did that, because when they came back and continued, they were able to get back in the mindset of what they needed to finish, which was telling Jan's story. And so that was a thing too. Yeah, I think that's all the other stuff. Yeah.
It's so funny because that was one of my notes to you. It's like, Jamie, where are they at now?
Yeah. Oh, and so Bob died in 2018 also, and he and Marianne stayed married until he died.
Well,
they were planning on writing a new book or doing an update that tells some more details and whatnot. Apparently let me tell you this. There was apparently a lot of stuff left off of this documentary, and I tried to search for it. I couldn't, because Borgman, who directed this whatever, she says she's considering doing a sequel that has more. It's that much.
Wow. Oh no.
Okay, so I'm gonna watch it and I'll let y'all know.
I can't believe that. Well, I thought that was interesting. One of the things I told Sandy is I kind of felt sorry for her, because I know that she gets paid to do these public speaking events and all this stuff. And I thought, she probably looks around at everything that she has and just thinks of him, that because she's made money off of it, But now that you say that she is an actual actress, at least she doesn't have to worry, think like that.
And her theater company does a lot more. She's more involved in her theater company. Her acting credits, she's only got about 50 movies or 50 credits from 92 to now. One show, that Everwood, she had like 30 spots, I think, 30 episodes that she was guesting.
I would watch.
Everwood. I never saw it. If any of y'all have, posted. But so yeah, I think most of her time is helping other people, all ages, in her theater company in Utah, and helping them, kind of get some of that practice and whatnot. So,
did she lose her faith through all of that? Did you find anything out about that, or is she still involved in the church?
I'm gonna say no. The only reason I'm gonna say that is because if you guys don't know, that Utah is like basically the mecca for LDS, or Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and the fact that she ended up setting up shop there and have her theater company there and lives there.
Yeah,
I'm gonna say that she's probably still an active member. I'm not 100% sure on that. I'm just going by the fact that she stayed in Utah, which
true.
That's it.
Yeah. Well, good. I would have hated for her to lose her faith over all of this.
And it happens. When something like that happens.
You can find her on YouTube. If you go on YouTube, you'll find her. She's actually done some spots since this documentary came out. She was on, she did an article for Vanity Fair, or the director did an article for Vanity Fair. She's done a lot of spots. What was that one show? The View. I don't
Mm.
recommend it though, because they were just gross. I saw it and I was all like, can we get off of the fact that she had sex with this guy? Like,
really?
They were asking her details about those encounters.
yeah. And then when she was going off into a different direction, they kept saying,
And they were
so
bringing her
you had,
back.
yeah. And they're like, so when your mom had sex, or when you had sex, I'm like, she didn't have sex with him. She was
raped.
She was raped. Why do
was
y'all keep
drugged
calling?
a lot of the times?
Yeah. I'm like, and her mom too. I'm like, like I said, and that's that part of me. I get it can go both ways, but my main thing is like her mom and dad were also manipulated and molested and whatnot. Now I get they could have said no, but people like that. They know how to.
My morbid curiosity goes to death, but not to sexual encounters. Like, I don't want to know about
Good,
that.
because I don't want to do this again, Sandy.
Mm.
Okay, well, we're going to end on that note. Raquel, thank you so much for coming.
Thanks for having me, you guys.
My producer, Mr. Pineapples, thank you so much for your research. And all of you guys that tuned in, I appreciate you so much. If you have a show, if you want to be on the show, just holler. We can make it happen. And if you have a show, I will definitely watch it. Oh, and I picked up some new reading material, Murder Most Texan. And so these are the most shocking murders in Texas history. Oh. So I've already read one. It was really good. I'd never even heard about it. So anyway, if you want to borrow it, just holler. Yeah, it's good. All right, everybody. Let's keep talking sheep. We'll see you later.
Bye.
Have a good weekend.